Hey everyone, it's Mojaxx back in the DJcity UK lab. For a long time now, I've been promising my final review of the Schenker Slim 14 Audio Edition laptop. Well, this is sort of that, but also not. Let's get into it. For once, the slow delivery of a review is not my fault. I was ready to drop my third and final video on the Schenker Slim 14 Audio Edition laptop back in January after a full year of testing, and I was excited to do so. It's one of the most requested episodes we've ever had. But instead, I was informed around that time that the new generation of audio laptops from the company were actually going to be branded XMG instead, and therefore was asked to hold off. The XMG brand is best known for high-performance gaming laptops, and whilst there was nothing inherently wrong with using the Schenker brand before, there's no doubt that XMG is a little cooler and easier to spell. And now the update is here, the XMG DJ15. Like the older Schenker model, it has hardware, BIOS and Windows, which has been fully optimized for maximum DJ performance. All those tweaks still make it a great option for audio software in general, but this time around they're focusing the marketing of the product purely on DJs alone. The pricing has actually got better, both by comparison with the old model and with contemporary Macs. I'll give prices in euros as that's what XMG provide. The standard DJ15 spec with a Core i5, a TB SSD and 16GB of RAM comes in at €1,220. An equivalently spec'd MacBook Air, $1,950. There are some differences, you can't quite compare like for like, but that's the closest model. Either way, the DJ15 offers a significant value advantage over MacBooks with similar specs. Another value point, the DJ15 comes with a 24-month pickup and return warranty as standard. That even includes a guaranteed 48-hour quick repair in the first 6 months, and that can be extended at a very low cost too. Going all out with a 36-month platinum pickup and return warranty with that quick repair throughout will only set you back €86. Whilst the network of Apple stores does help to make Apple Care very attractive despite its high price, I think XMG's offering is both very reassuring and excellent value. The DJ15 is available in red or silver. I think the red looks stunning, although I can understand that some people would prefer the less brash silver option. It's definitely bigger than the 14, but not dramatically so, as the bezels around the top and sides of the screen are much smaller. They were pretty excessive on the old 14. The screen itself is an IPS panel with 1080p resolution, and that means it offers excellent viewing angles. It also has a matte finish, which handles glare very well, and there's enough brightness here for pretty much any situation. The keyboard is equally on point. XMG have used the extra space to add on a number pad to the right, which is pretty common on 15-inch laptops. The RGB backlighting looks dope and can be customized to your taste, and the chiclet style keys offer a comfortable typing or shortcut experience. If you look closely, you'll notice the layout on my review unit is German. XMG of course offer various language options. They just sent me a German one in error, trying to get it out the door to me as quickly as they could. The Microsoft Precision trackpad is a definite improvement over the one on the old 14, with separate left and right buttons, which feature more travel and a more positive click. It supports swiping and all the other stuff you'd expect from a modern Windows trackpad, and has an accurate and consistent feel. It also features a fingerprint reader, although Windows Hello is so good, where you look at the webcam to log in like Face ID on an iPhone, that I can't ever imagine myself wanting to use a fingerprint instead. The base of the laptop is made of resin as opposed to the rest of the chassis, which is aluminium. That may feel a little less solid than the aluminium base on the 14, but helps keep the weight down to around 1.6 kilograms, impressive for a 15-inch machine. It also features large vents, which really helps with the thermal performance, more on that later. Next up, we'll talk connectivity, which is one of the real strengths of these laptops over, say, a MacBook Air. On the left, you have the power socket. The DJ15 comes with a regular laptop power supply, a USB 3 port, and a USB 2 port, ideal for some older hardware which doesn't like USB 3. Then you have a mic input and headphone output. Over on the right, you have an Ethernet port, an SD card reader, full-size HDMI output, and mini display port. Hooking up external displays is no challenge here. Then a USB 3 port, plus I was delighted to find a Thunderbolt 3 port. Whilst regular USB ports are excellent in a DJ environment, it's great to have one of these next generation ports on here. It supports Thunderbolt 3 and USB 3.1 Gen 2, both of which can be used for incredibly fast external drives, as well as DisplayPort and even power delivery. So the laptop can also be charged with any number of third-party USB-C chargers which deliver 65 watts or more. As someone who owns a 16-inch MacBook Pro for editing video on the road, I can say with confidence that even in 2020, living that dongle life is a real pain. But there's absolutely none of that with the DJ15. I honestly can't think of any more ports that I'd even want over what's found on here. The connectivity is simply terrific. So we move on to the specs. The thing to keep in mind with the DJ15 is that the spec options are determined by DJ software ubergeek RK, who has spent a lot of time testing which hardware is going to give users the best audio performance, and he's made demo videos for XMG to prove it. What that does mean is that your spec choices are actually quite limited on the DJ15. All XMG offer you is the hardware which RK has determined will provide what is needed in terms of latency and performance. So you have a choice of two CPUs, an Intel Core i5 and an i7. The i5 should be more than enough for anyone running a single DJ application, with the i7 being a fairly affordable upgrade if you might want to push the limits with multiple apps at the same time. The RAM offered is Samsung or Samsung, with 16GB being the standard and 32GB being an option, and the same applies to the M2 SSD, for which XMG only offer the Samsung brand, but with a few different choices. The standard spec is a blisteringly fast PCI Express 970 EVO 1TB drive, which can be upgraded at the time of ordering to a 2TB or downgraded to a smaller 500GB. You do also have the option to spec a SATA SSD instead, the 860 EVO, but the cost saving isn't worth it in my opinion. Stick to the PCI Express. At this point, there's a very important thing I have to note. Both the RAM and the SSD are upgradable, standard interfaces, standard fitting. So unlike with Apple, you do have the ability to swap out that hardware at a later stage if you want to upgrade. That will be a big thing for many DJs, myself included. A word on battery life. With the old Schenker Slim 14, you had room for a second SSD, but that's been discarded on the 15 in favour of making space for a bigger battery instead, and I think that makes sense. Larger M2 SSDs are more affordable than they were 2 years ago, so capacity versus cost is less of an issue, and having that extended battery life is useful for a machine used on the road. XMG reckon you'll get about 6 hours in balanced mode, which is what you should really be using when on battery power, but even in the full-on high performance mode with no power saving steps taken at all, I got around 3 hours from a full charge. It's time to talk about performance, but before that I'll touch back on the old 14 first. I spent over 18 months with that machine as my DJ laptop, and thanks to the launch of Phase, 2019 was a year that I used a laptop when DJing way more than I had in the preceding years. Not once in that time did the Schenker crash. I've literally never had to force reboot it. Not once did I have any compatibility issues or hardware failures, and not once did its performance let me down. Now, I can't speak for other Windows laptops. This is my experience with these audio optimized machines in particular, and it's worth keeping that in mind. With the XMG DJ15, I've given it my usual performance test by actually using it, but this time around I've been lucky enough to call on the rather more scientific testing done by Professor BX from DJworks, who also has a DJ15 in hand. He tells me that in his testing, he's found the DJ15 to offer lower latency performance with Serato DJ Pro than with his much more expensive 16-inch MacBook Pro, and the DVS decoding time, how quickly the computer picks up timecode data and delivers it to the software, is faster on the DJ15 than on any other machine he's tested. He's also, and this is important too, been unable to get the DJ15 to thermally throttle. This is always a concern with a lot of power contained in a compact laptop chassis, but thanks to the big vents on the bottom, the DJ15 just doesn't get that hot even under load. Intel chips are very quick to knock down their performance when they warm up, but that seems to be a non-issue with the DJ15. Put simply, all the stuff that XMG claim about how the hardware, the BIOS and their Windows tweaks are optimized for audio performance is true. This thing eats audio applications for breakfast, even in the balanced power settings mode, let alone the high performance mode. Up to now, this review has been 100% positive, but are there any negatives to the DJ15? Well, there's definitely one. The built-in speakers are rubbish. They're better than the ones on the old Slim 14, but honestly, that's not saying much. Now, of course, when you're actually DJing, that is completely irrelevant, but when prepping tracks at home, or if you want to watch a movie on the road in a hotel or something, it's disappointing to have speakers which really aren't up to snuff. The second negative isn't really about what the DJ15 does, but about what it doesn't do. It's built to be an audio powerhouse for DJing, and it certainly is that. But in 2020, the DJ landscape now looks very different to what it did a year ago, and lots of DJs are looking for a laptop which has some graphics grunt in order to help them pull off good-looking live streams. And while I do always recommend that DJs use 2 computers for streaming, that's not always financially feasible for everyone. So I'd love to see a version of the DJ15 in 2021 with a dedicated dedicated NVIDIA GPU for NVENC encoding, rather than just the onboard Intel graphics. It would cost more, but that combined with the audio optimization would make for a killer streaming machine. One final thing to add, and I'm sorry to possibly disappoint some of you so late into the video, XMG don't have worldwide distribution. At the time of making this, the DJ15 is only on sale in Europe. I believe that XMG are looking to expand the markets where their products are available, but for now, those of you in the US and elsewhere are out of luck, I'm afraid. So there you go, my take on the XMG DJ15. Couple of things to finish up with. Firstly, I've not really talked about Windows in this video. That's because when I did the switching to Windows thing with the Schenker, I made 2 episodes about that kind of journey. And at this point, nearly 2 years down the line, it's nothing. It's not even a factor. I know that these Windows laptops do the job very well. They haven't given me any issues. Windows is still not my preferred operating system. I'm an OS 10 kind of guy, and probably will be forever for my day-to-day computing. But when it comes to DJing from a performance and reliability standpoint, Windows 10 absolutely on point on the Schenker and on the XMG. Durability-wise, super happy. You know, the Schenker, I've used that for almost 2 years, and I've hammered that thing. I haven't looked after it at all, and it's still kicking just as well as the day it came out of the box. So I've got no qualms about the durability of these products. Affordability is excellent, you know, compared to an equivalent MacBook Air or MacBook Pro, much more affordable. The pricing is very, very keen on this XMG DJ15, and they're upgradable. And for me, that's a really big thing. You know, you buy a current MacBook Air or MacBook Pro, whatever spec you get when it comes out of the factory, that's what you've got until that laptop dies. And for me, that's always a bit of a tough thing to get over. Whereas with this, you know, an 8TB SSD becomes affordable in the next couple of years. Well, you can put one inside here. No issues with that at all. So from a sustainability point of view, very, very good. My only real disappointment with the XMG is the fact that they don't have worldwide distribution. You're not going to be able to get this everywhere in the world. I hope they expand that out as time moves forward, because I think it would be great for everyone to have the opportunity to check these out and maybe pick one up for themselves. As far as I'm concerned, I'd still be happy using the Schenker one for the long term. This is a nicer laptop. It's more up to date. It's more powerful. It's got a nicer chassis, but I was always happy with the Schenker anyway. Yeah, if you are looking for a new DJ laptop and you don't take a look at these, I think you could well be missing out. Thanks for watching today. Make sure you subscribe for all our future tips, tricks, and product reviews. I'll see you soon.